It's your boy King Keith
and Cece,
and y'all now rocking with
KNC Family. Bang bang.
Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications on so you can know we upload new content, which is each and every day just for you guys, our
KNC Family.
Now, if you're a new artist, you'll be on our platform. It's on our social media. Be in the description down below. Click the link, DM us. Bang, bang. Y'all already see the title, man. Y'all already see the title. We've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and we want to get back to the get back. You know what I'm saying? Back to back game. But this one is the story of Shoota Shellz, BlackMobb official video. The official link in the description down below, so you guys can check out the official video on your own time, man. Shout out to Chicago scene, man. You know what I'm saying? You already know we plugged in over there with KSC. You know how we rocking over there. But I'm ready for this, man. You know what I'm saying? Get your popcorn, grab your seats, do what you gotta do. Thank you guys for supporting our mobile apps. The link will be in the description down below. Thank you guys for supporting our merch. You know what I'm saying? Following us on Instagram, everything like that. You already know, man. Get into it.
Let's get it.
RP Shoota Shellz, because I think he passed away.
Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support I received from you. And as always, all the information in my videos is rumors taken from the internet or the street. I'm not saying the information is fact.
Don't pick your mans up.
Yeah, just because people used to come through shooting at us every day. Yeah, this block, words can't even explain. Can't even explain.
Yeah, man. Let's go Valley 05 way on money. Young money, man. They in the building.
Crazy how everybody just passed away.
600 boy LA, man. LA Capone, man. Get to him, man. OC2 boys, man. Team number 9, man. Number 9 shooter, you hear me?
Hey, Ricky little bitch, yeah! Fuck is wrong with you? Hey, I am Brick Squad! Brick Squad, boy, fuck is you talking about, boy?
You have to be willing to die or go to jail for 100 years if that's the lane that you're stepping in. You have to understand that whether you're 15, 16, you got to think like a man, you know what I'm saying?
So don't be in it. Oh, you're not? Why does everybody say you're only 16 years old?
They say what they want to say.
How old are you?
300.
300.
The story of Shoota Shellz.
Through a lot of my life, man. You feel my OG passed when I was like 11. My pops died when I was like 9.
Hold on, bro. Yo.
That shit it's a lot, you feel me? You know, you deal with family issues, you feel me? It's all type of shit, you feel me? Motherfuckers go on and they like, and then to come to this shit, you feel me? All this street shit, that's a lot. A motherfucker gotta mature, you gotta mature fast, you gotta grow up, you gotta take care of yourself out here. You feel me?
This is the story of Cedrone Doles, also known as the rapper Shoota Shellz. This is a very sad story about a boy who early in life lost both his parents, was quickly drawn into the criminal and destructive life, took lives from other families, lost one of his brothers, and then met the same fate himself. Cedrone grew up on the east side of Chicago, which is seen as the worst and most dangerous side of Chicago. Not only that, he grew up in the most dangerous area on the east side, called Terror Town, which is a territory that No Limit shares together with BlackMobb.
See, BlackMobb is up there. Terror Town is right there. They like right next door neighbors, man. Knock knock, who there?
Cedrone grew up on BlackMobb territory, which is located on 74th, 75th and Phillips. He grew up there with his mom, dad and brother Scoops, and maybe another brother. However, if I understand correctly, he did not grow up with him, and he is not involved in gang life and lives in Michigan.
Wow.
Shoota Shellz was the younger brother of him and Scoops. Cedrone went to elementary school on the 75th and South Shore. Already as a young kid in 6th grade, there were fights between different schools in the area, and that was really where it started between Lakeside, BlackMobb and No Limit. Even at that time, the years 2006 to 2008, there were always fights between the different groups of friends, both inside and outside the school.
That's normal stuff. High school boys getting into stuff. And it turns crazy.
The years around 2004 to 2007 were also very tough years for Shoota Shellz. When Cedrone was only 9 years old, his father was murdered in Chicago. 2 years later, when he was 11, he lost his mother. I do not know how his mother died, but I have heard that it was due to natural reasons. Cedrone thus became an orphan when he was only 11 years old. Because of this, Shoota Shellz entered the criminal life fairly quickly. His older brother Scoobs was already in that life. Since Cedrone had nowhere to live, he had to move around and live with his friends, from house to house. How can you really expect an orphan 11-year-old, who grew up in a poor household in one of Chicago's worst ghettos, where he has to fight almost every day, where children do not dare to go to school because they are afraid to make sound life choices? I have seen too many people in my comments judging these children. Because that's also what you need to remember. Many of these members made these choices as children, because they could not see any other way out. They were forced. Many of them had no adult role model who could guide them at an early age on what is right and wrong. Society must be there already. As Shoota Shellz became an orphan at an early age, he had to make difficult and adult decisions throughout his teens. Many children in Chicago who grow up in the ghetto don't get the chance to be children. This is the reason why gang members, who are in their 20s, have a much more mature mindset than a 20-year-old who grew up in the suburbs. For example, when you listen to Shoota Shellz's interview with Zach TV, he seems to be much older than he really is. Zach TV was even surprised when Cedrone told him he was only 21 years old. Of course, due to everything that was going on in Shoota Shellz's life, it had an effect on his mood and how he behaved. Lil Bibby explained this very well in an interview with DJ Vlad. Bibby was angry all the time because of what was going on in his household. His mother went on drugs and said she hated him. This made Lil Bibby constantly angry, and therefore used to do the same thing every day. Be out with his friends and beat up people. He said it's sad to say it, but it made him feel better. It was a way for him to release his anger.
Shit, how old you is, bro? Like 28?
Yeah, I'm 28.
You 30?
20, 30.
What the fuck? And let me guess, 29?
21.
Bro, you 21, bro?
Yeah, man.
What the fuck? How you age so quick? What the fuck going on, bro?
Man, I've been through a lot in my life, man. Even my OG passed when I was like 11. My pops died when I was like 9.
Hold on, bro. Yo.
That shit it's a lot, you feel me? You know, you deal with family issues, you feel me? It's all type of shit, you feel me? Motherfuckers go on and they like, and then to come to this shit, you feel me? All this street shit, that's a lot. A motherfucker gotta mature. You gotta mature fast. You gotta grow up. You gotta take care of yourself out here. You feel me?
Like I said, Shoota Shellz got into fights almost every day. There were constant fights between different schools from other areas where members of No Limit attended. One person Shoota Shellz had a very personal beef with was the rapper G Herbo, or Lil Herb as he was called at the time. The reason for the beef between the two was the fights that occurred between No Limit and BlackMobb, where both Lil Herb and Shoota Shellz participated, and where Shoota Shellz several times have stated that BlackMobb used to chase Lil Herb away from the area, and that he is not about that life as he says he is. However, it was not Shoota Shellz who started with these mocking comments, at least not to the public. It was actually Lil Herb who started mocking Shoota Shellz in one of his early songs back in 2011 to 2012. In the song, I'm a Boss, featuring Lil Bibby, Lil Herb raps, I see Shoota, Blam the 8, and in the song, My Hood, which is also featured by Lil Bibby, Lil Herb raps, Go tell Shoota we name changing. Lil Herb has also constantly mocked BlackMobb throughout his career.
Another thing I gotta say about like with the Herb situation, motherfuckers be talking about clout chasing. Like motherfuckers be, I hate motherfuckers from the outside of Chicago. They just be staying looking in, talking, oh he clout chasing. I'm reading the comments and shit. You know, ain't nobody clout chasing. This shit been going on way before that. They chasing nigga home from high school, all that shit, whooping them, all that.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
So, hold up, somebody got chased?
You say what?
Herb.
Oh.
Man, they chased that
What's
man.
up? I don't, you not.
Way before, like, you know what I'm saying? Back in the time, way before this rapper shit got the poppin'. Way before they started rapping, they was shouties.
This was really the real starting shot between the personal beef between the two. Shoota Shellz says in the interview with Zach TV that he was very surprised when he heard Herbo mock him in a song for the first time. He said he thought it was weird because he often saw him in BlackMobb's neighborhood back when he lived there, but that Lil Herb never did anything to them. What he meant was that he did not think Herb showed the same energy on the street towards BlackMobb and towards Shoota Shellz as he did in his songs. Shoota Shellz mocked Lil Herb back in one of his early songs. However, it did not get as much attention as he did not have the same attention as Herbo. This caused Shoota Shellz to allegedly try to kill Herbo, but never succeeded, and every time BlackMobb saw him in their territory, they chased him away. All of this was a big reason why Herbo mocked BlackMobb and Shoota Shellz as much as he has actually done, and still does. Then one must also not forget that the absolute biggest reason why he hates them is because they managed to take many of his friends away from him.
That's where it's funny at. BlackMobb killer. Them niggas Thundercats. Yeah, they brave pussies. First they tough them hammers up, then they the same pussies.
Just like I said before, the beef between BlackMobb and No Limit started with fights between the two gangs. But what many people actually do not know is that BlackMobb and No Limit used to be cordial with each other at one point. But before we go into the reason why guns became involved, which later led to bodies being dropped, I will tell you a little about BlackMobb, their members, history, and who Shoota Shellz was close to. BlackMobb is a fairly small set on the east side of Chicago. It started as a group of friends who grew up together who later became BlackMobb. It is a brotherhood. BlackMobb houses mainly on 74th, 75th and Phillips and Shares, along with No Limit and Muskegon Boys, Terrortown. As you all know, No Limit and Muskegon Boys are merged, and are called NLMB, No Limit Muskegon Boys, or Never Leave My Brothers. The 80s and 90s were among the most violent decades in Chicago's history. The problems with drugs, gangs and murders were extreme, and it was actually the area of 75th to 79th Street and Colfax to Yates that was the worst area of the South Shore. This area became known as Terrortown. Terrortown was mostly controlled by the Black P. Stones and gangster disciples. It was even defined as a BPS area by Jeff Ford's son back in the 90s, where No Limit was, and still is, one of the main branches in the Black P. Stone Nation area Terrortown. BlackMobb as a gang has really existed since Terrortown became a thing in the 90s, so it's not a new set. BlackMobb is mainly a Maniac P. Stone set. But there are also members such as Shawty Hit, who is a gangster disciple. Shoota Shellz was extremely close to members such as Shot Hit, SGH, Black, Scoobs, of course, and Eric. These were really the ones he was closest to, but because BlackMobb is such a small set, he was of course close to basically everyone.
So they're still around. So they'll be members. I wonder do they still have more like BlackMobb members still alive?
BlackMobb, like all other gangs in Chicago, has allies in their area. However, there has been a bit of back and forth about who are actually their allies. One set that BlackMobb has long been allied with is Lakeside. Many are relatives between the two gangs, and many have gone to school together. BlackMobb is also cool with a couple of other sets like KTS, Death Row and Pocket Town, which are all enemies of No Limit. Since NLMB is EBK, which stands for Everybody Killer, they are fighting against the entire eastern side of Chicago. They are being attacked on all fronts around Terrortown. No Limit is allied with Muskegon Boys and ABK. For example, both Fazo and Kobe were from Muskegon Boys. Some from No Limit are also cool with Circon City gangsters since they share the same enemies.
I know sets, right? Crazy.
However, NLMB has not always been EBK. Just as everyone knows, NLMB was first and foremost a Black P Stone set, but later became a Renegade Stone, and still is in many ways even though most now claim EBK. However, there are members of No Limit who claim both BD, GD, EBK and Stones, so it is very mixed. Originally, No Limit was cool with most sets around Terror Town, because of them sharing the same nation with other gangs in the area. But after No Limit starting wars against many sets around the area for various reasons, and thereby going against their own nation, the different sets on the eastern side began to merge and go to war together against No Limit, which is by far the most resourceful gang on the east side, both in terms of money and members. Just like I mentioned before, BlackMobb and No Limit were cool with each other. Now I'll tell you what was the reason the war started, and why it was No Limit's fault.
No Limit, man.
Back in the days when BlackMobb and No Limit used to be cool with each other, the gang's top priority was money, all thanks to the structure and leadership that existed in the gang from the older members. Especially No Limit has always been a gang that prioritizes money above all else. Extreme amounts of money were made every day thanks to members like Lil Bibby who did nothing but sell drugs. The older members taught the younger ones, which created a bond between the younger ones and the older ones, which does not exist today. Today there are lost kids who run around and kill each other. Anyway, No Limit sold drugs throughout Terror Town and even in BlackMobb's territory. To be allowed to do so, however, they had to pay tax and show respect to BlackMobb. An event that took place in 2009 would change the eastern side of Chicago forever, but especially the relationship between No Limit and BlackMobb. Devious Johnson, also known as Vito, who was 21 at the time, was out selling drugs in BlackMobb's territory. He did this without paying taxes, and also showed no further respect towards BlackMobb. Vito was violated by BlackMobb because of this, and was chased away from their block. Hellrail, who is currently running NLMB, told Vito that he would go and shoot someone from BlackMobb, which he did. The person he shot at was with his children at the incident. This was totally out of line with the street rules, and it was from there the expression, NLNL, came from, that stands for No Limit, No Law. This incident was the start of a long-running war between the two gangs with countless gang murders. Because just a few days after that incident, the first body would be dropped between BlackMobb and No Limit. BlackMobb wanted revenge because of what Vito did, and it ended up being Vito who was murdered in revenge.
But NLB is NL. But they switched it up. The same thing, so they switched up the thing. It's still NLB.
Vito was standing on the street a few blocks from his home in the South Shore neighborhood, in the 7800 block of South Essex Avenue, about 1:20 a.m. to be precise. BlackMobb was out in No Limit's area to look for Vito and found him standing there on the street. Boo from BlackMobb ran up to him and shot him in his chest. Vito was sadly pronounced dead at Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn an hour after the shooting. Boo from BlackMobb, whose real name is Trinity Walton, was later charged with the murder and later convicted. Trinity was sentenced to 60 years in prison. He will be released in 2071.
Man, they threw them years at them, man. That's crazy.
The murder of Vito took really hard on No Limit. It came as a shock to the members of No Limit. The war was now really on with BlackMobb. BlackMobb continued to pressure No Limit and continued shooting up their blocks. The elderly in No Limit did not tolerate this and were prepared for full war. NLMB directly became BMK and MK, which stands for BlackMobb Killer and Maniac Killer. However, it would take a long time before No Limit got revenge on BlackMobb. It was actually not until 2011, 2 years later. During the 2 years, they were still pressured by BlackMobb and No Limit's allies refused to help them, which resulted in No Limit becoming EBK, Everybody Killer, which resulted in new wars and tensions with their allies. Like I said, none of the No Limit allies helped NLMB in the war with BlackMobb, not even ABK. They remained neutral in the war, and were still cool with both gangs, which would later change for various reasons, which we will come to a little later in the story. Anyway, 2 years later, NLMB would even a score against BlackMobb, and also take the lead a few months later. There was an important reason why No Limit eventually went to counterattack. The seniors in No Limit, not least Jeff Fort's nephew, constantly wanted to prevent the war with BlackMobb, and continue to keep the structure and things calm in Terrortown. However, in June 2011, several arrests were made in Terrortown when, among others, Jeff Fort's nephew was arrested. There were no longer any real senior figures who could stop the war now. Now the younger ones in No Limit started looking for revenge. Just days after the mass arrest, No Limit got their revenge. Pistol P from NLMB allegedly caught Hakeem from BlackMobb on the 2400 block of East 75th Street, and put multiple shots at him. He was sadly later pronounced dead at 11:20 a.m. at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. 5 months later, the next body was dropped in the war. Allegedly, Cratehead from No Limit caught Rayvon, only 18 years old, from BlackMobb, near a bus stop in the 2400 block of East 75th Street. According to rumors, Cratehead shot him in the back of the head and then fled the scene. Rayvon was tragically later pronounced dead at Northwestern Memorial Hospital.
Murdering his ex-fiance's mother.
In 2011, Shoota Shellz was actually shot. Where he was actually shot, I'm not entirely sure. However, I've heard it was in the leg, but like I said, I'm not sure. I'm also not sure who was behind it, although of course it is rumored that it was No Limit.
Allegedly.
Now we jump forward 2 years in history, to 2013. It would be the bloodiest year in history between the two gangs, not least during the summer, and during that summer, Shoota Shellz caught 3 bodies within 2 months. To be completely honest, NLMB actually terrorized BlackMobb at the beginning of the war, however, it would not be that long. BlackMobb, which was a fairly small gang, knew what they were up against. No Limit is one of the biggest gangs in Chicago that controls large parts of Terrortown, has endless with shooters and drug dealers who pull in extreme amounts of money. BlackMobb knew it was going to be tough. In early 2013, it was rumored that when M-Up and Cratehead killed Lucky from BlackMobb. However, I don't have the date when he was killed, but from what I have heard, he was killed in early 2013. In the early summer of 2013, T-Bone from BlackMobb was allegedly killed by Doo-Wop and his brother Capo, both from NLMB GBE. G. Mineski from NLMB was allegedly also in the car during the hit. This was the start of the bloody summer between BlackMobb and No Limit, and after T-Bone's death, No Limit was up on BlackMobb with 3 bodies. However, that would soon change. No Limit and BlackMobb slid on each other all the time during that summer, back and forth shooting up each other's blocks.
That's crazy. Yeah, he just got home, yeah, recently 4 bodies. It's crazy, man. Oh, Doo-Wop is still, yeah, I see him. He was GB, GQ. Capo, yeah, he passed away. And had the footage of him laying there. That's crazy. Yeah, he went to Chicago that day, man, to visit. To drop on him. I still feel like he got backdoored.
Simo.
But this one right here, man, this is like a, you know, the first part. You know what I'm saying? If we will only do the next part if y'all guys, you know, y'all want to see more. But Shoota Shellz, man, from what I recall, we did the video. Well, you did it.
That was like 3 years ago. Death of 150,
Death
something
of
like
150, something like that. Something like that. Cece did that by herself at the time. That was a long time ago, man.
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, 2 years ago. Like because the channel says 2 years. I don't know. But anyway, it was a long time ago. And if it was 2, 3 years in, that's crazy. Because I should have been in that video. But at the time, we didn't even know if we was doing YouTube, but we had our own business going on before we actually made YouTube an official business back then. So it's crazy how time flies, and now this is actually a real
backstory documentary of him. Show.
Yeah.
At that time, it was just a song reacting to his song.
And that song was crazy. And then after that, he passed away. After that song. Man, drop some, prayer hands, whatever if y'all rock with Shoota Shellz. If not, then let us know what y'all, like the song.
You know what to do. Y'all want to see a part 2 of this? Comment down below.
If not, we
put the likes up.
We kind of already know the backstory because we did him.
Yeah.
So it's like if y'all want to see the rest, it's okay. Then let us know.
Spam up. If not, we're gonna go on to the next one.
We're gonna go to the next one because at the end of the day, as long as you know that we did listen to this documentary, even though it's not the whole, but we still, we know the backstory because all the lyrics that really happened and all that stuff. It's so much, man, that's on the internet, and so many reactions and reviews that we have done already have something to do with most of these artists anyway. But thank you guys for all the love and support once again. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, our Instagram for the KC Family TV, and our Instagram for the gaming, KC Gaming Media. It's going to be in the link in the description. Just follow all the description down below and make sure you play our app, mobile apps, get the high score, things like that, cop some merch. Y'all already know what to do, man. Thank you guys for all the love and support. 100K by this year, man. We're trying to get that so we can have a celebration on live with the plaque and do a giveaway. That's what we're trying to do. That's our motive this year. That's our goal this year. 100K, go live, have a good time, do some giveaways. We don't know what type of giveaway, but most likely it's going to be gift cards for PlayStation and Xbox and things like that. But let's get into it. Thank you guys. This your boy King Key.
And Cece.
And you're now rocking with
KC Family. Bang, bang.
And we out, guys. Peace.
No way, Jose.